Hello, I'm Kevin Wells from Team Darxen Tablet Edition, and this is not a screencast. Up to this point, I've been doing screencasts to do all my demonstrations of the project that I'm working on, and we're nearing the end of the project, so I figured I would take a little bit of time just to actually show the actual netbook that I've been doing my development with, and just take a little bit of time to talk about it. So I guess I'll just jump right in with that. So this is the Lenovo netbook that I've been using for this project. It's very small, very cute. To be honest, before doing this project, never really wanted to buy a netbook. It's a market I knew existed. It just didn't really interest me. But now that I have one and have been able to use it for close to 15 weeks now, it's just become extremely valuable. I take this to class sometimes instead of my laptop because this, to start, gives me like 10 hours of battery life, whereas my laptop gives me about 2 minutes if I'm lucky. So it's really cool to have something that can just last me all day and not die. And yeah, the touchscreen also is really useful. My application that I'm doing is very much touch oriented, and I've been doing a lot of development with that, and so sometimes I'll actually try touching the screen on my laptop or someone else's that I'm working with, just because it's a really intuitive way to interface with a computer, so it's been really interesting to develop for it and be able to just use it. But yeah, a little bit of talk. You can see it has a keyboard, and in my application I haven't mentioned a keyboard at all. In fact, it doesn't support keyboard input at all. It's something that I can add, it's just not something that I've done, because this netbook actually supports a tablet mode, which is pretty cool. You can rotate the screen, light on top of the keyboard, so the keyboard at this point is not accessible, which is why I've not been using it. At this point, it is entirely a touch input device. There's really no other way to interface with it, so why not make it an application that can support that? And that's what I've been doing. The entire thing can be done simply with touch input. I could add support for a keyboard so that you can run it in both modes. Didn't see that as entirely necessary since I really wanted to just focus on using the touchscreen. That was the main goal of the project, or this contest in general, actually. And so that's where I kind of focused. And actually, I'm kind of surprised after using this for a while how few applications out there support touch input. And so I think it's really cool that Lenovo's doing this sort of a contest to try and get people interested in developing for it. It's certainly something that I wouldn't have taken the time to do beforehand, but now that I've been able to dive in and play with it, it's been really fun, and it's something that I would like to do more of. So that's really cool. And that's actually kind of why I changed the aim of my project. First, I was just going to do Darxen Tablet Edition. It was going to be a way to visualize radar, and I had a few features that I was going to do more than I had time to do because I kind of changed the scope of it. I was like, well, there's not really a good way to make touch-driven applications. How about I make a better way to do that? And that's where my graphics library that I've been talking about came about. It's called GLTK, and it actually has about twice as many lines of code as my actual project for this. So a lot more time has gone into that, and it's kind of paid off, or it's really paid off because I can make any touch-driven application I want now with this framework. And hopefully that'll be something that's used by the community, but if not, it's at least a good pool of resources. So that's a quick overview of kind of what I've been doing with this. Like I said, it's been really fun to be able to play with this, and today I kind of want to talk about not really any new features. There's a few things that I might mention. Really, I wanted to give kind of a general overview of all the features that I've been adding to Darxen Tablet Edition, a little bit of emphasis on GLTK. I'll talk more about that in my final presentation this Monday. But for now, I just kind of want to do a feature demo because I don't think I'm going to have enough time to do a full demonstration of it this Monday. And so I would like to reference to a screencast that I'll do today. So without any more of me talking, I'll jump right into that screencast. See you there.
Alright, so we'll go ahead and jump into the full feature demonstration of this. So I'll go ahead and fire up Darxen Tablet Edition. And right away you might notice that it enters full screen, which is something new that I added. It's full screen mode. It can be configurable via the config file. I don't have an option here, but that could be added. So yeah, just to go over almost everything that this is capable of doing. We'll start with this panel over on the left. I'll come back to this main screen later. So on the left you can see different city and states. For example, we have Chicago, Illinois, and Indianapolis, Indiana. These represent radar sites. These are where there are actually radar sites monitoring radar that we get to see. And tapping those will hide and show the associated views with those radar sites. And views are custom things that we've defined to visualize different radar data. So as an example, let's take a look at a storm on 419 at Indianapolis. So if I just go ahead and tap that, it will bring up a radar view for this site. We can go ahead and zoom out here, and we can take a look at it. This supports animation controls, so I can hit play up there, and it will start animating through this loop of radar data that we have. And using these controls, I can pause it, I can step forward, I can step back, I can go to the first frame, last frame, anything to that extent. It also shows the date and time down in the bottom right hand corner, and displays some information about the maximum reflectivity in the upper left hand corner. Also, this supports doing live data. We don't only have to do archive data. So currently there's nothing really exciting happening in Indy. It's a fairly calm day here. But if I go back to the storm, one more thing that I can show is that it supports both zooming, panning, and rotation with multi-touch. And you can pan with a single touch also. Alright, so that's a quick overview of the different types of data that you can do, so archive or live. Another thing that this supports is velocity renderings. So radar supports both reflectivity and velocity. This is velocity here. To give a little bit of context, I'll go ahead and show the radar for this also. This is a tornadic cell that was in Texas just a few days ago, and this is a fairly strong cell here. If we take a look at the velocity for it, I'll step in a few frames in, and you can see this area in here where you have both red and green colors mixed together. Those are two opposing velocities. It's what is usually an indicator for tornadic activity inside of the cell. And so this is a tool that meteorologists will use a lot when issuing tornado warnings for cells. So a little bit there too. Another thing with this list over here, these items can be reordered by long pressing them. That is, pressing and holding for half a second and then dragging it around, so we can move this down here if we want to. This can also be done with sites themselves. If I long press this, I can drag it down and reorder it that way. Also, as an extension of long pressing, you can drag it away from the list and then let go, and it will delete that item. And this can also be done with lists themselves, or sites themselves. I can take it, drag it away, and let go, and that site will be deleted. Okay, but how do we add them? Well, that goes back to this main view. And so here I have a list of all the available sites, and, well, there's a lot of them in the United States, I'll just say that. And you can see if we go down to the bottom of it, you can see Indianapolis, Indiana. That was the one that we just deleted, and it re-added itself to this list. And you can actually take that, long press it. I'm actually on the screen. And then I can drag that over to this list, and it will create that entry again. And also, something I can do is take items, I can drag it over to this list, and then I can drag them back over here, and you'll see that it deleted all the views for it, just because that's the same action as deleting it and then dragging it back. But we'll go ahead and get rid of that. Alright. Also, how do we want to add views? Well, there's an Add View button, which will bring up a dialog that lets you select the site that you want to add a view for. So we'll go ahead and add one to Indy, and we can set a name for it. It shows an on-screen keyboard, where you can type the name of your view. We'll call it My View. Not being very creative here. And then click OK, and it will create the new view called My View in Indianapolis, which defaults to live view, or live data, which, as I mentioned before, isn't very exciting at the moment that I'm recording this. But that brings us to the next part, where what if we want to change settings for a view, and that's the view configuration screen. If you take the name of the view and you slide it to the right, it'll take you to the view configuration screen, or you can select the name of the product. You can select the actual product that you're going to pull, so if you want to do velocities or if you want to do reflectivity, you can change your elevation angle for it, and whether or not you want to smooth the radar data. That's an option that's here too. You can also display additional shapefile information, so it can render lakes, rivers, and surrounding radar sites. Another thing we can do is configure our source type. I'll show a little bit more about that. I'll just do a demonstration of showing more shapefile information here. So you can see it's loading the rivers and the lakes. And that's actually another thing that changed recently, is it will load the shape files on demand, and you'll actually see it progressively render it and reduces lag and makes the GUI feel a little bit more responsive to do that. Going back to archive data, let's take a look at this this view from Paducah, Kentucky. And down here you can see it's set to archive data, meaning it's in the past, and we are currently using data from April 20th at 1:27 a.m. to 7:57 p.m. And if I change these dates to maybe April 21st, you'll see that it updates the display over here based on the data that's available. And that would happen even with changing, well, this doesn't have different months, but it would propagate over also. And that about sums up configuring views. One other thing to note, all of these settings are persisted across application restarts. So if I were to close this, keep in mind that we added this My View to Indianapolis, Indiana. I restart the application, as you would expect, it is still there. And it's still displaying live data. So, as quickly as I can, that is a fairly complete feature list of Darxen Tablet Edition. Project that turned out pretty cool. Glad that I was able to get it as much done as I did. Yeah.